Hi, this is Eel O'Neal, and you're listening to the 3 Count Podcast.
I'm in fashion.
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering Ring, and I'm your host Clifford Red Dog. That's right, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. That's right. You should be calling me your Sherpa now because this is like 60-something episodes I've legit asked you to call me your Sherpa, and you need to. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me, but it's about who's entering the ring. And today, you see the man right there. He is from WWR Plus. He is from Beyond. He is from EWA, MCW, SWO, Fight Pro Wrestling Lab. He is the intellectual. He is the electric Eel O'Neal.
Howdy. How's everybody doing? I'm happy to be on.
Hell yeah, man. I'm hyped to have you on the show.
Yeah. I'm excited to be on. Any chance I get to talk with anybody who loves professional wrestling, it's like,
Yeah, and that's what that's why I love this show, right? It's because like you can be on a different podcast, right? And I say this very gingerly, right? You can be on different podcasts. You have different people who are like always like, hey, like, like I have like, let's be like Busted Open Radio, right? They have like 3 legends that you can talk to, like you can listen to them talk. But most of the time, you're gonna get like fans who want to ask you questions about like, what's your favorite match? What do you think about what's going on with this product? What's that product? And the cool thing about this show is that like, because I've been in now just over 2 years. And I love going to other people who have been to different places and just ask them for advice. And so, like, I think I have such a unique perspective on that I'm growing versus, like, and I don't mean any disrespect to Tommy Dreamer or Bubba, right? Or even Mark Henry. Those guys are at the peak.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just working my way up.
They've been there, done that. Yeah. So it's always nice to talk with people who are like kind of in it, as opposed to kind of have that top down. Also, things are always changing. One of the things that when I take advice from like vets, one of the things that I've learned to do is to look at the critique for performance, what they're trying to tell you about your performance, and then the critique versus like society when they were wrestling. Because like a lot of people will tell you not to do X, Y, and Z, but what they're saying is the reason why you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z is because those didn't work in 1995, or that didn't work in 1985, or that didn't work in 2005 when they were at their height, and they were warned against doing that. But like there are a ton of talents who you'll see now who do like literally the opposite of what a lot of other wrestlers would be like, oh, that's the way to get over, that's the way to do it, and they're doing it successfully. And it's because like the wrestling landscape has changed. And that's not to say that like when a vet tells you like, hey, this is really, this works, this doesn't, it's not like that's not to like poo-poo them, because you should always listen to vets and like take those critiques. But sometimes a lot of the stuff that they say to you is informed by, hey, when I was growing up, this is the only stuff that worked, and now it's different.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, because like one of those things that I like learned, and like I got into the game like super old, but then like I'm like still growing within like the industry itself. It's just like you hear all those advice, right? And I know like some people will say like one thing that got thrown to me was that characters aren't a thing anymore. It's just that it's your personality that really is going to shine through. And I agree to that to some extent, but then I see someone like Danhausen, or I see someone like Orange Cassidy, or you see someone like, Chad Gable, right? Like those guys, maybe they're extensions of themselves, but clearly like character work is always going to get over with fans, because fans get invested in characters. We don't get invested in people. Otherwise, everybody from like the UFC would be a star. You know what I mean? And I get that MMA is different from like pro wrestling, but in the same aspect, like if you look at someone like Colby Covington, right? Like this dude is like very brash, seems very racist, right? And I put that out there gingerly, right? Because he just has like these crazy extreme point of views. But then if you talk to Colby Covington, like behind the scenes, he's very chill, very calm, right? But then when he's out there in front of the camera, he's very extravagant. So to an extent, you still get those characters over. And I mean, everybody talks about Conor McGregor. Like Conor is like the guy.
Yeah. But also like the guys like in MMA, the guys who you want to see are the guys who have these really really larger than life personalities, like
Facts.
they're big, you know what I mean? Like stoics don't really, not that stoics don't win fights, because plenty, there are plenty of boring guys who, like, who will come and crush you, but like people don't, they get marketed less. And
Right.
like, I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, as much as, people want to, like kayfabe you, when people want to say, or sorry, people want to say like UFC's fake, or sorry, wrestling's fake and UFC's real. That's the difference. It's like, no, no, no. All those guys, one, we're all getting paid garbage, but two, they have to market fights, so they have to create personalities. They have to create marketability too. I think. I think when people say characters aren't a thing anymore, I think what they're saying is that um it used to be that you wouldn't want to see a like professional wrestlers should be people who you only saw during Showtime. If that makes sense. Like if you
Yeah.
were walking around and you saw Macho Man Randy Savage, it'd be like, golly, like I have to, like, I'm seeing the Macho Man like at a, at like shopping for, shopping for bread and toilet paper. But uh they wanted to feel larger than life. And then now I think people really task themselves, and audiences task us with it, with believability. If we
Right.
have a feud, they want it to be believable and based in something that's not just like, oh, he stole my best friend, or oh, he just wants my championship, or oh, like they want, they, from wrestling, they're tasking us with creating essentially what like HBO TV shows do. You know what I mean? They want characters who they can say, okay, so that one's good because of X, and that one's bad because of Y. And it's kind of, I mean, like, I think one of the faults of the business currently is that we have a really hard time with baby faces and heels, and with who's a good guy, who's a villain, and the reasons why we're booing folks. You know what I mean? A lot of people, especially like the Twitter crowd, they love to say that, like, oh, that person's politics don't agree with mine, so I don't like them.
Right.
Or like, people who are supposed to be the good guy will just do straight up like villainous things to bad guys, and we're supposed to cheer for them for doing that. And it's like, I don't 100% like, I don't 100% know that that works, because we turn it, when we turn it around and we come back to it, and like, if the, like, you're doing something now, you're doing something cruel to the villain, right? And you're a baby, and then we come around, and the villain always has to get up at least some point, even if they're not going to win the feud, it has to look like they're going to win.
Right.
uh, and so they knock you down, and one of the things that you'll see is that people will cheer them. People now cheer heels before they'll cheer baby faces. Yeah, I mean, you see it all the time, and then like crowds have to really really work, unless somebody's, super over, like your Willows, your those type of baby faces. uh you'll really really have to see people work to get that baby face pop. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it didn't used to be like that. It could just be, hey, mean smug guy comes out, he frowns at the crowd immediately knows to boo. Good guy comes out, says let's go, or come on baby, and everybody cheers. And now we have a little bit more intricate storytelling to play, which I like, which, my, like, I have both a sports and like a theatrical and acting background. So like, to me, that's perfect. That's the stuff. That's fantastic. Because if I can set up, hey, this is the reason why these people don't like each other, why they're at odds. This is the reason why people are like this. This is the reason why people are like that. This is the reason why people, you know what I mean? Like, reasons for things happening is my favorite, as opposed to just saying, oh yeah, it's a hot match, let's make it happen. It's like, no man, I'm tired of dream matches at this point. I don't want to see another dream match, because we
No.
keep saying it and we keep wasting them. We keep being like big cards keep being like, oh yeah, we're giving you this dream match, look at these two incredible people, and there's no reason for them to wrestle, so it kind of falls to the wayside. You can watch a lot of great wrestling, you can't watch a lot of great wrestling stories.
Right. I think it's like one of my favorite things though is like, um, and I'll put it out there with like back, and I say back in the day with WWE, right? But like the Austin Rock matchups, right? They
Yeah.
were always driven by storyline. It wasn't
Yes,
like they
yes they
weren't
were.
wrestling for like no reason. Now they were like there would be times where they were like in a team, like a tag team match or some kind of asset. But
What is it?
really, when it came down to those one on ones, like
Austin. The first one was what, Austin's wife, right?
yeah,
It ends up being The Rock's manager, and then is it The Rock has the championship at that point too? And then
Yeah, I think that's how it worked
Yeah,
out. I
and then
can't
it's like, oh,
remember.
hey, it's obviously he's taken essentially everything from Stone Cold, and Stone Cold's like,
Right.
hey, man, this isn't gonna stand. Like, dog don't hunt. Sorry, you can't go around galooting with my wife. You can't go around getting in my own business. You can't go around with my championship. And they fought, and they felt like titans because they
Right.
really were. They were these dynamic personalities, these dynamic storytellers. And I mean, even at that point, it's I don't think we have to, I don't think it's throwing shade to say that like at that point Austin was kind of at his last on his last leg as far as his like in-ring wrestling stylings go went. And
Yeah.
The Rock, the it's not like The Rock was ever a five-star worker. It's not like you were ever looking at The Rock to be like, oh wow, he's gonna get down and gritty with it, like Bret Hart style. You know what I mean? And there are guys who were there for that. You know what I mean? Your Bretts, your Shawns, your Bretts, your Shawns, your Eddies,
Right.
and they were dynamic storytellers too. But still, like, um who was I was riding with O'Shea Edwards to a show a while ago, and he just we watched the Hogan Rock match where they like stand in the ring for like, stood in the ring for like 7 minutes, and everybody just lost their absolute minds. And that's kind of what you're looking for. You know what I mean? That's as a professional wrestler, you want them to be so excited to see you fight that you have to fight less. And you can tell them more story with looks and glances than you could ever do it with moves. At least to me, I love wrestling, and this is from a person who like will watch a Zack Sabre Jr. Match, will watch a Jonathan Gresham match, we'll watch, Tim Thatcher, we'll watch Drew Gulak, we'll see all of those really heavy. Hey, these guys have great in-ring stylings. They're fantastic on the ground. They have these beautiful stories that they can tell. Watch those and go like, man, I love this. I love that style. But still, I really do think that like um at the end of the day, when people watch UFC, they're there for knockouts. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
how much do they boo when people aren't throwing hands, when people are just grappling on the ground, right?
Yep.
But how much do they cheer when people throw shots, even if they go 5 rounds even if they go 5 rounds in the to a finish, to a decision. When people start popping, boom, 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 the crowd gets up, and then when they go down to the ground, they quiet down, and like that's just human reaction. We all want to see the fireworks, and it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be short, but I think that we forget that like people want to see the slap bang stuff. They don't want to fiddle as much with the minutia. They want you to be clear with kind of the reasons why.
It's interesting too because you bring up like a lot of great points, right? And like aspects of like storytelling. And I recently had a match, right, where with and full transparency, people can be like, "Oh, TJ Sykes," right?
Yeah,
But we were in the ring for like 4 minutes, man. We didn't touch or anything, man. But the fact that the crowd was like so hot and they just wanted to see like us too because of, and to be fair, like I am very like extroverted, right? And
yeah,
obviously TJ is as well. But TJ is also like a great heel side of things. And he got the crowd to like get so much heat that the moment that I came out the curtain, like they were hot,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They
And
want to
we
see
were
this. You
in
just
the
get punched in the face.
Right, and we were in that ring, and we were just standing there, and we didn't touch for, like, the first 4 minutes, and people were just screaming, and they were just, like, so excited to seeing us 2 in there,
Yeah,
and it was just so cool to have that moment to just, like, look at TJ, and obviously TJ's working too, and I was just like, "Bro, like, this is fly." And,
yeah.
it's like you mentioned too, because like, even with Rock, like, he's not a five-star performer by any means, and Austin was a great worker too. He's not I wouldn't put him at, like, the I would never say he's a
At
GOAT,
that
right?
point, like stunning, like if you want to see Steve working, you want to watch stunning Steve Austin, and
Yep.
then even into King of the Ring, Ringmaster, before he turns into Stone Cold. But if you want to see somebody who is shooting like firing on all cylinders as far as character goes, and getting people to buy t-shirts and getting people invested in stories, Stone Cold was the guy. But it's not like he was, he wasn't going out there and having these big grounded matches. He was at that
Right.
point, he was a brawler. And like that's no shade to him. You go through various stages of your career and your physical ability on which to perform, the same way that like when Ray Lewis when Ray Lewis was starting out with the Ravens, you know what I mean? He's shoot up the whole mic, stop middle of the runs, and then by the time that he was ending his career, it was like, hey, he's gonna be able to call this, boom, boom, boom. He's gonna lead you, like he's still in there. So like if you really need to stop, bam, he's there. But like really, he's seen it all, he's done it all, so he can tell you, hey, everybody shift over, calling audibles. Hey, everybody, defense is this, defense is that. You know what I mean? He's a player coach at that point, and I don't know why we can't get to that level with like. There's no shame in being like, hey, he's not going to be able to do the same stuff. Like it's just not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like nobody goes 20 years in this business and is like, hey, like that moonsault that I used to do every single time. Guess what? That's good and golden every single time I fall. I mean, even when Jericho was, even when he was young and he was Lionheart, you know what I mean? He would still screw up that moonsault. So
Right.
like now, that's a sometimes food.
Well, like you bring it up with like think about like 20 plus year veterans. I mean,
Mm,
even Jeff Hardy now we
yeah,
see like when he first was like hitting that swanton, like there were shoulders connecting on the opposite
yeah,
side of the body,
he was saving
and
guys.
yeah, and
That
now it's
was
just
not
like
it.
he's just all body,
Not
body
anymore.
on body
Just take the, I
contact.
mean, it's the fit. You know what I mean? It's the finish. So it's like you might as well, like, if it's gonna be rough, I'd rather it be there than like, hey, in the middle of the match, I'm really gonna knock the air out of you, and then I'm getting up and you got to bump and feed for me, baby boy.
Right.
Like, like it's the finish. It is what it is, and he's a legend, and like that's okay. But like, there's no shame in being like, hey, like when Steve was doing his most moneyed work, he wasn't. It's not like he was. It's not like he was 5 stars in the ring, and that's
Right.
perfectly fine. Same way that like The Rock was never 5 stars in the ring. I don't think I'm sure there is one match where he got 5 stars. I bet you, or at least close. I bet you I bet you the one that he had with Eddie where he tries to go for the rock bottom and Eddie turns it into the arm drag.
Yeah.
I bet you that one is like 4.5, four and a
Yeah, I
half,
think
four
it's
and
gotta
three
be
quarters,
close.
something like that. Yeah, but like and audiences, um, who was it? Audiences don't. So like for a good period of time during the pandemic, I trained with Jonathan Gresham. That's not to put myself over. That's just to say say it is what it is. You know what I mean? For like about 2 months, just twice a week getting like heavy rotation on like, hey, here are the things that we're doing. And then plus I was training with Joey Ibanez in the um I was training with Joey Ibanez in the in at EWA, so we were like getting ring time there too. So 3 times, 4 times a week, I was just wrestling, just trying to get better at my craft. I think that's kind of why I came out of the pandemic being better. But John would say like a lot of people don't understand what professional wrestling feels like. Like the things that we do that are supposed to hurt and supposed to be physically like, oh my gosh, that really hurts, don't 100% make sense to people who haven't seen those things.
Right.
So like we have to really capture, like even if I throw like a heel hook on right now, boom, on somebody, people don't understand that like, hey, heel hooks are wicked, like they're horrible, and if you do it, it sucks, and you should tap immediately because that's a great way to not use your leg for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Yeah, arm bars. You still see people with arm bar cells where they'll break that S grip and they'll let that thing fly for oh my gosh, ouch, it's so hurtful. And like in the real world, hey, you break that S grip and that arm gets extended, that's a tap right there. Like that's done. Because you want to be
Immediately.
able to because you want to be able to work again. You want to be able to fight in the near future.
And that's why
Um,
so, like, I have a problem and so, like, we could definitely talk about submission moves, like,
yeah,
all day, because that's my problem with, like, I love Ronda Rousey, right? I
yeah,
100% do, and I know people can be like, "Oh, but, and I don't care. I don't care."
yeah,
So, but my problem, though, is, like, watching her in WWE, there's 2 parts to it, and I'm on a love-hate relationship with her, right? So, she locks in the arm bar, right? And we know that that's her move based on the UFC. We
yeah, yeah.
and fans that have followed her know that.
Yeah, she
But
was
what
finished. I
really
mean,
bugs
that
me,
was when she was on her run. That's how she was finishing people. She was hitting them with judo throws, and then she was getting them in
right?
arm bar, some variation on the floor. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But I think what my problem is when she locks that out, and then and I get what's supposed to be happening, right? But it's when she bends it in,
yeah,
right? and then people like tap. I'm like, no, like I don't think you guys understand.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't like
That's
visually it tells a cool story. Like she's like they're straight and they're like trying to fight, and then she's like bends it in, and
boom.
they're like
Yeah, that's it.
because it gives the aspect that she's like breaking their elbow.
Yeah.
But if you're watching it on camera, it makes no sense
Yeah, but it doesn't make
because you're
yeah.
just bending it towards like it's here, and then she's like, "Oh, here," and they're like, "Oh, tap out, tap out." I'm like, "No, like you're just doing this."
Yeah,
Like
there
that
are a
doesn't
lot
bother
of
me.
there are a lot of submissions. As a person who would call himself a submission-based wrestler, like somebody who likes taps or knockouts more than he likes like big power moves.
Right,
Um, there are a lot of subs that people don't do that people don't sell correctly. And I always tell people, I'll be like, hey, yeah, like if you want it to look good, let it be immediate. Like don't let the thing be extended. I'll let the stretch, the get into it be extended, but don't let the waiting for the tap take a long time. So like
right,
every once in a while I'll do a Kimura, and like the fight to get it around is the thing that I'll milk, and then once that goes behind the arm, hey boom, with the with a lock, that's hey immediate. Like
get it,
don't wait, don't sell it. Like let the fight be the thing that the people like, oh man, it's coming. Same with every once in a while I'll do a guillotine too, and I'll be like, okay, so like the guillotine, I was like, if we're up and you're fighting me on it, that's cool. But if I'm sunk in and I got the hooks in, like honestly, like your blood flow's gone. If I'm doing it for real, yeah, you're out. So it's like either tap or like be like, hey, but don't extend it and fight like this, because people don't know what this means.
right,
It and that's part of our performance. I think it's so like we have a very hard job as professional wrestlers now, because way back when people went to the fights and it was punch and kicks, you know what I mean, and before but like punch kicks, drop kicks, things like that, hey, everybody had a special hold and that was the thing that got them over, that was how you won. um when that used to be the thing, when it was more like a video game, that was really easy coded language. But now we're we're like I said before, we're tasked with more with harder storytelling.
yep,
Yeah. So like because we're tasked with harder storytelling, it means that like we really got to think, hey, boom, I put that hold on. What does that mean to them? You know what I mean? What are they seeing? Because if they're seeing me sit in a submission for a really long time, and the guy is just sitting here going ah like that in the middle of the ring, that's not going to end the match. They know it's not going to end the match. I know it's not going to end the match, but that's the problem, right? So like if I lock an armbar in, I'll be like, hey, immediate ropes, boom, powder, full, boom. We'll do something on the outside, get back to it. We can keep working that arm, do something on there to tell that story. Or if it's a leg submission, boom, hey, immediately go to the ropes. Hey, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a break, right? I'm a heel. Even if I'm a heel, I got a break. Or the ref's gonna cut the match off.
facts.
Don't let yourself get stuck dead center in the ring in any kind of hold. I mean, like even if it's a fucking rear naked, which I could go on and on, especially from after training with Coach AJ, after training with Alexander James. He was like, dude, do not. He was like, if people can please stop pimping out the rear naked choke, because if you really hit that bad boy in real life, like people are gone.
Yep,
Yeah,
6 seconds is all it takes, man.
yeah,
Actually, it's less than that. It's like 5.5 seconds is all it
yeah,
takes to
yeah.
like
You're
put a person
gone.
out.
Boom. I'm cinched, and I mean, you see how you'll see how I watched a 10th Planet video today. I like watching those because I like coming up with ideas for. I'm trying to get a buggy choke over or some kind of rubber guard choke over. I just don't know how. I just don't know how audiences. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for an audience to be like, oh, I think that hurts, as opposed to just, hey, it kind of looks freaky. Um, the he he pulls an arm drag, boom, half side control all the way, like flexes all the way over to back control, and he's full mounted too, and boom, he's already got this part of the sleeper in, right? So as soon as he gets that arm back there, the guy's like, all right, it's done. Like he knows he's getting slapped. So he's like, well, might as well, you know what I mean? Like, and us as professional fighters, it should be like, hey, maybe not so much. Don't work the hold. Work the getting work to getting into the hold.
Yeah.
Like I always tell my students with like arm ringers, because we see arm ringers every single match. I'm like, so when you lock up, I was like, take some time in that lock up, and then take some time to fight into the wrist lock, and don't cinch it all the way in, because in the real world, if you twist somebody's wrist, they will tap. Like wrist locks end matches for in BJJ. If you're rolling with somebody and they twist that bad boy all around, you're like, I don't want this to break. Hey, we're done. You know what I mean? That hurts.
Yep.
That sucks. And it's small amounts of pain, but like you have to fight another day. You have to go on to fight. So unfortunately, like that's the thing. But like we take all this we take all these like old tropes from professional wrestling that like used to work, and that's kind of the thing, is it's like that stuff used to work, and then we're in a generation where people, one, are watching it, and our forefathers in professional wrestling, God love them, they all did YouTube videos where they talked about how everything was fake. And then two, everybody's seen UFC highlights and like knockouts and stuff like that, which
Yep.
sucks even more. And then three, you have influence from people watching highlights of All Japan and New Japan matches that are for championships, that are old, right? That are so old, before we knew about CTE, and when those guys were going ham on each other for championships, right? They're not doing it in their like, hey, we got the 6-man tag and like we're just gonna play the hits. Like they're doing, like you're watching Misawa, knock Kawada out with with a spinning back fist.
Facts.
But for a championship, right? They're doing that stuff, boom, when it really matters. So they're going all out. But people see that stuff and they go, "Oh, I'm just going to add that to my move set." So now we have a bunch of people who are overzealous with strikes, who don't know how to sell submissions realistically to audiences, and who aren't thinking about, hey, in this match we can have a story and we don't have to whack people all the time.
That's true. It's true. Yo, so I'm gonna ask this question really
Yeah,
quick, and I
yeah,
really
please.
want to know. I'm just very curious. So you've been in for a while. You said you had some students and stuff like that, but I gotta know, man, what's the worst bump that you've taken?
Ooh, worst bump. That's a great question. There have been some. Early in my career, like 1 or 2 years in, somebody gave me a boom. They gave me an F5, and they just didn't time it. So they basically landed me on my noggin. Luckily, my arms and stuff were out and nothing broke. But like
Right.
as I hit, like you know how like every once in a while you'll take a high neck bump and like you'll hear that, like that crack in your neck, like all the air, like how like if you do that, you do it,
Yeah.
and you just hear like a big one, like if a chiropractor was doing it. That's the noise I got, and it sucked the air out of me. I was like, oh, that sucked. Um, the worst thing I ever got, like performing, was actually from theater. I took like a pratfall off of a box, and I landed and I just ruined my hip. My hip like hurt. I'm like I still have yeah, I still have a little bit of like a little hip giddy up till this day, but like boom, I hit down and I was like, oh geez. And we kept rehearsing. I was like, geez, that one really sucked. Like that one really hurt. And like it's been lasting enough. So it's not even wrestling. Also, I have to say that because I've been in the business for what 8 years now, and I've been with enough really great trainers who have really pressed to me like, protect yourself. I'm very good about being like, hey, these are the things that like I want to do for you to make you look good, and these are the things that like I can't do to make you look good. And like I don't mind getting physical. In fact, I love it. I just had a match with Tony Deppen where we whacked each other all over the place. Boom, 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 slam, slam, slams, up and overs, whatever, fast pace, indie style, whatever. You know what I mean? But like when it comes down to it, it's like, hey, I really don't want to get knocked. I don't want to get like driven on my head. Like I don't want to get driven on my neck. I don't want somebody to, I don't want some freakish outside bump. Like I'm never gonna probably ever work hardcore style or like a match where we're hitting each other with stuff. Like that's probably just the way that my career is gonna go. And if I ever do, like never say never in professional wrestling, but if I ever do, there'll probably be some very specific caveats for that stuff. Like I just don't. It's not my particular style.
Right.
and like it just doesn't appeal to me. That's no knock on hardcore or death guys, because those guys are, those guys are warriors and they work hard too. Um, but like I'm really good at protecting myself. I'm really good at specifically being like, hey, sorry, no dice, like it's not happening.
Yeah, I think for me, it's one of those things too, where it's like I know, like, and I tell people I'm upfront with people about my age. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, man, like, I'm older in the game. Like, I'm not really trying to take like any like super crazy bumps.
Yeah.
But if you want to work through it, we could talk about it, and then we can find something that's gonna to work efficiently with it. But in the
Sorry.
same
Yeah.
token, like, I'm just like, yo, let's go out there, because like ultimately, and to fans at home that are watching this, and even to other wrestlers, it's a dance, bro. Like, and
Yeah.
you're trying to protect yourself.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
you're trying to protect the other person as well. So like you have to trust him, and if it's something, something that Big E said, like, you want to have that other person you're gonna trust them, and they're gonna trust you, and that you're not gonna injure. That way, you both go home at the end of the night. You get to wake up the next morning, and everything's okay. So
You never want to see anything bad happen to an opponent. You never want to see anything unfortunate happen to an opponent. At least I don't. Um,
mm,
and I really do think that if a lot of people picked three of the moves that they do that rock, like look really, really great, and another person picked three of the moves that they do that look really, really great, and you structured a match around that and the cells of that into the finishes, as opposed to, hey, the indie rific, everybody hits signature strikes. We Tokyo Dome in the middle, bit bop, bit bop, bit. We go into falsies. Hey, boom, you hit big thing, big kick out. Come over to me. Hey, I hit boom, big thing, kick out. Oh my God, we're down. Whatever. We're gonna finish it out. You know what I mean? Audiences will respond better because they don't get burned out on all of the things that people do. A lot of shows nowadays, because everybody wants to be a super indie, which is perfectly fine. Um, but a lot of shows nowadays have 10, 12 matches on a card, right? We can only move so many ways inside of a professional wrestling ring. Like even if we all don't do anything hardcore until match 8, it eventually comes to like, hey, somebody's got to take a floor bump, somebody's got to go through a table, somebody's got to go through a door, somebody's got to get hit with something on the outside of the ring. We have to figure out exactly what that stuff, like we have to go there, because at this point we've told them everything that we possibly can show them with this stuff. um yeah, what? God, I can't even remember who. Oh, it's Jim Ross when he said that he saw ECW, like WWE had finally was thinking about buying it from Heyman, and
right.
he was watching it, and he was like after like he saw the first match, and he was like, these guys can't go anywhere. He's like, after this, the only way that they're going to be able to go anywhere is shoot each other with guns, and like he was right. Like a lot of those ECW guys, and not that they weren't fantastic, they were incredible, but a lot of them kind of faltered with mainstream audiences because, frankly, a lot of mainstream audiences don't want to see people get stabbed and bleed and do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But there is a devoted fan base. Obviously, people like GCW, people like IHW, people like that Fight Pit. People have found that audience. But like it's in degrees when you do it on a show. Hey, like everybody takes small portions of everything that you do, and then hey, when you have that championship match, guess what? You got all that fired up stuff that you want to do, all that stuff that you've been practicing that you've never tried before. Now you're going for the title. Guess what? It's time to dig deep. That's when that stuff comes out. Boom, 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 boom. Here are all the secret moves. That's your special. Your special meters up. Um,
I like
yeah,
that.
that's what I tell the kids. I'm like, I get it. You want to do like everything because you now have the ability to, right? But if you want to tell a story, which is what we're all here to do, right? Like we're not really fighting, we're not really hurting each other. We're here to perform and to tell tales. If you want to do that, you have to do it in measures. The the best fight of a movie, even though some movies this isn't true, but the best fight of a movie should be the last fight of the movie, so that you go, man, they really up the stakes there. uh there are some that like There are some that don't work. Terminator 2 is my favorite one. It's by the time that we get to the reflection of the we're in the metal plant,
Yeah.
and the stuff that worked in the first Terminator doesn't work on the uh doesn't work on the T-1000.
Right.
That's when we're into the money moment, because you're like, legitimately, what is it going to fucking take to kill this thing? Like,
Right.
what is it go what is it going to take to end it? And you're so invested in it because you've seen it go through everything. It's been hit by a tractor trailer. It's been smashed. It's been shot. It's had its head blown off. It's gotten whacked, smacked, thrown all over the place. And like, the T-800 is really on its last legs. Like, it's like, oh man, like, I don't I don't have it in me. Like, I really do, like, this machine isn't gonna work. And then when it does win, you're like, oh geez, like, finally, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I think that we have that ability, that storytelling ability, to take it in small little margins and small pieces. That's not to say go out there and half-ass it, because I don't think anybody should ever do that. But do, pick your shots, because those are important for the audience.
I'm kind of curious though, man. Like, what's like one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn, like so far being in the industry?
Um, Good wrestling is not necessarily over wrestling. There are some audiences that just do not have it, that are just not there, are not versed well enough in slams, rolls, slams, rolls, holds, escapes. They're just not versed enough in that stuff for you to be like, man, these guys are really gonna dig the stuff that I do, and that's okay. That is a lesson that you have to learn. That is something that you have to say, okay, so now we locked up, we did our whole roll around realistic schmaz, and they're not biting. Hey, guess what? Time to adjust. Let's do something smaller. Or let's do something broader. Let's do something bigger. Hey, boom, they're gonna see it. Hey, let's tell an arm wringer story. Ouch, ouch, my arm. Hey, ouch, ouch, ouch. Whatever, good guy, bad guy, all that stuff. And you should always be able to adapt to the crowd. But there are so many people who are proficient at wrestling who are not good at the performance aspect of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I
And
get you.
that's okay, because I do think that there should be people who are good at professional wrestling and knowing what they're doing and going out there and making and helping people look good and teaching people to look good. But also, like we said with Stone Cold, like we said with The Rock, sometimes all it really takes is a big guy with personality and a really cool catchphrase to sell a fight. And that's frustrating, because it's like, man, I want to tell my grapple story. I want to tell, and you'll get your chance. But like, even Eddie had to come to the point of being like, okay, what's marketable? You know what I mean? Like Viva La Raza, Lie, Cheat, Steal, all that stuff. That's when people started being like, well, Eddie's the big superhero who we've always wanted.
Facts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
true.
it's, and I know it's frustrating for a lot of people, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not particularly good on the mic, or my goal is to become the best, like, grounded pound for pound professional wrestler that everybody wants to see. But we got a lot of people who wear black trunks, and who wear black trunks and kick pads. We got a lot of guys who dance too. We got a lot of funny dancing men. But at the end of the day, a funny dancing man with a bandana that has a catchphrase can sell a bandana that looks like that that will make him money. And then you can't really sell black trunks and kick pads.
Right.
Yeah, and I know it's frustrating, because it comes from, like, I love professional wrestling. When I watch wrestling, I see what they're doing. I see the escapes. I see what they're. But, like, it also comes from a point of, like, removing your ego from it. When people come to watch professional wrestling, what are they coming to do? They want to have fun.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
you can be the guy who gets taken serious, and that's great. But also, you have to remember, they want bright, they want fun, they want colors, they want to see something that is special, and that's okay. Like, that's the real lesson that, like, took me like 4 years to figure out, that, like, oh, maybe I don't have to, like, dance and like, like chuck and jive and stuff like that. I don't have to be like, like I don't have to be like, not no offense to our truth, but I don't have to be an our truth type character. I can grit my nose and be serious, but also I have enough personality to where I can be funny and witty and silly and giggle with folks, and people will like me as long as I have something that kind of is reminiscent of, hey, if you want to buy if you want to buy a piece of uh of like the character, this is what it is. And that's kind of when the mask came in and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's all. I've noticed that with you too. Like your character is very like obviously it's driven right in
Yeah.
African culture, but
Yeah.
what's really cool about it though is that like while it's kind of like colors up subdued, it stands out so much,
Yeah.
and you get that aspect from other people too. So one thing that I definitely notice about your wrestling style is that it is very much submission based, but like you said, you have a personality that you can turn it on and let people know like, hey, yo, like I'm this person and I'm still able to be this person.
Yes.
And I feel
Yes.
like that's where like a lot of wrestling is kind of like missing, right? Because you hit on it just perfectly, right? In indie wrestling, right? Fans are looking for that bright color person who has like a great personality and can just move the whole entire crowd just based like one on moveset, two personality, and three like good attire,
Yeah.
which I think those are like three great things that people need to have while they're wanting to have a successful career in indie wrestling, as well as something that you see in WWE. 'Cause I mean, like, let's be real. Seth Rollins has like the greatest attire of all time.
Yeah.
We talk
Yes.
about that man's suit game over the last 2 years have
He
been
looks great.
fire.
And even just going from and I know a lot of people, and I know this rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but going from like the architect and being all like in all black, even when he was in a heel, and being being like kind of like almost a mini Triple H with all that stuff, like even going from that stuff, he just straight up like ramped up personality to 11. It works. It works because you don't have to. It's like King Booker, right? Even though the King Booker even though the King Booker personality is silly, like he's not British. Charmel's not British. He's not a queen. He just happened to like to be the king of the ring, and he thought of a really great gimmick that was going to be like funny and silly and like, oh hey, look, I'm like doing like a British thing. Even though he did that, still when he got in the ring, he is a 6'5", 250-pound massive man who like what I believe was an ex-convict. So like he's not a slouch. Like it's like even if he's dressing up as a silly king, like when it comes down to it, if he punches you in the mouth, he punches you in the mouth. I don't think that your wrestling has to take away, like your being good at wrestling has to take away from your personality. In fact, I think it adds to it. I think there are
Right.
a lot of like I've seen a very big resurgent surge of like queer talent coming into professional wrestling and succeeding because that was a niche that needed to be filled. A lot of people did not have a lot of like queer people did not have the representation that they wanted to have in professional wrestling. But like we still have like they're not all the same. We have queer high flyers, we have queer brawlers, we have queer grounded wrestlers, we have like we can have these different types of people in that same genre that are not similar. So it's always very interesting to me when people just want to go, oh, I really want to be taken serious, and it's like, well, you don't want to make money then, because what you're saying is that you're not willing to take any kind of risk
Right.
to entertain. And the only way that these people want to see us, the only way that they want to vibe with us and enjoy stuff is if we take risks for them. They want to, I mean, like it's quite literal. Hey, if I take a bump, like anytime I go out and I professionally wrestle, knock on wood, I could lose my life, I could get hurt, whatever. But then you also have to take it like they don't want to see a guy who can't be gotten to.
Right.
That's boring. It's annoying and it's boring. When you see good, first off, good guys, how quickly do good guys who never lose turn into villains? You know what I mean? Like in professional wrestling, people turn on that stuff so quickly. And then how quickly do heels who Like how easy is it to just have a heel go on a losing streak and then have them stop cheating, and then hey, all of a sudden they can throw a thumbs up and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I really feel for that guy. He's a good guy." You got to be vulnerable with them.
Right.
And if you refuse to change even a small aspect of yourself, you refuse to have fun, you refuse to smile, you refuse to show personality, you're telling them, "I don't want to be vulnerable with you." And why do they need to come and see you?
Yeah, no, and it's crazy because like I know even for like my wrestling character, right? Like
Yeah.
although like my character is a mercenary, right? Like when you hear that, the cliche thing is to do, oh well, he's gonna be very like brash and very like very systematic about everything.
Yeah.
And while I can be those guys, I prefer to dip in the other side of the pool where it's more like a comedy based kind of deal. Cause
Yeah.
like I could, yeah, sure, I can do, and people who've been watching the show for a long time know, like, yes, I'm former military, right? But I'm very high energy, very fun, and I love cracking jokes. And so, in fact, when I was like, and I mean, I don't know if you got to see it or not, with EWA working the Grimy Scots, I'm getting my face rubbed into chest hair,
Yeah.
and I legitimately like sold like I was gonna throw up for
Yeah.
probably like a minute and a half,
Yeah.
and the
You can
crowd
just
was
kill.
just loving it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just kill time, and they want to have fun, and they want to get told that kind of stuff. Like how many different types of, so there's Sicario, there's Smoking Aces, there's movies like Nobody, there's
Right.
there's James Bond. There are all types of mercenaries. There are different versions of that people can attach to and go, hey, this is who Red Dog is.
I
And
love
you
that you
don't
said
have,
Smoking Aces.
huh?
I said I love that you said Smoking
Yeah,
Aces 'cause
you don't
that's
have
one
to
of my
get,
favorite movies.
and it's a great movie, and you don't have to get caught. And there are so many Tarantino movies that are about people who kill people, and it's like if you have people who if you have movies about people who are kind of mercenaries who are paid to do the job, you don't have to get stuck in everybody's dead serious. I only wear all black. I'm all like this. I mean, even Grimm, who is quite literally the hit man for hire, even he has color on his on his wardrobe. He has very specific stuff. You don't have to get stuck in these little boxes that everybody tries to, because to be honest, that's what schools will do to you in the first place. They'll be like, hey, I'm going to saddle you with a gimmick, go ahead, go out there and make your name off of it. And what they're kind of doing is giving you a starting point. Hey,
Yeah.
this is something that I know is based in something that will work. There you go. And that is a beautiful gift, right? A lot of my friends are formerly trained with Chikara, and a lot of them were like, hey, like these gimmicks, they felt like a prison until I realized that because this person gave me boundaries, now I have to say, okay, so since I'm stuck doing X, Y, and Z, what can I do on these axes, right?
Right.
What can I do here? What can I do inside of this box that will help me tell stories? And it made them better wrestlers. And it's like, you don't you don't want to get stuck in, it has to be it has to be serious all the time. It has to be serious all the time, because nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see it.
Well, you brought up like great talking points, right? Because not everybody is gonna be Jason Bourne, and not
Yes.
everybody's gonna be, not everybody's gonna be oh Jesus, I just had it on my top of my tongue. John
John Wick.
Wick. Yeah, not everybody's gonna be John Wick, but you're gonna have people out there who are gonna be like that more Deadpool kind of type character that's just gonna be out there and having like tons and tons of fun. And I
Yeah.
think when I hear about like character wise, like it's funny because like people bring it up to me all the time. Like there's gonna be 6 characters that you're gonna see in every single locker room, right?
Yeah.
And one of them's gonna be like a mercenary, the guy who gets paid for money. One of them's gonna be like the angry person. One of them's gonna be always the technical wrestler. Someone's
Yeah.
gonna be out there to be like the funny clown kind of character, and then someone's always gonna be like the horror character, right? Like the no matter what you do, like he keeps coming back for more. He just refuses to die. So I was like, oh, that's interesting because I saw myself as a mercenary. And at
Yeah.
first it was that character. Like I was very serious and I was like, I'm gonna take care of this, take care of that. And finally I was like, dude, there's so much more that I want to
You
do,
can mine it.
that I finally started to press the boundaries out. And I was like, now I'm getting where I want to get to. And once my trainer saw it, he was like, dude, run. Just run with it. He's like,
Yeah.
I love everything that you're doing right now. He's like, it's funny. And I brought it to other people. And it's weird too, because like you'll see
Oh,
this is the way I'm trying to move it. People finally realize, and they're like, okay, I understand where you're going with it. I like what's going on.
yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird to take it in, man. I have a question. I'm going to ask this other question before we get into our into our final
Yeah.
sets of questions.
No,
But
please.
you've been around for 8 years. You've been around to different locker rooms, whether it's in Massachusetts, home sweet home, with Wrestling Open, or you go all the way down through Maryland and down the East Coast and maybe to the Midwest. But being that you've been in different locker rooms, I need one do and one don't of the locker room.
Wash your gear is due. I think don't is take up too much space and invite folks. But I do have I like don't let people who aren't professional wrestlers into the locker room. Usually locker rooms are family affairs anyway, where it's like, hey, I'm showing up, look at me, I'm walking back here, let's vibe. But like if it's like, hey, like you're bringing your boyfriend or your girlfriend who's not a worker, it's like, hey, that's not 100% fair to everybody else because somebody's parent bought a ticket or whatever. Um, and it just has to get cleared. Make sure it's cool with everybody, or make sure it's cool with the head of everything, and then you're good. I also have don't bully people. A lot of vets now that I go around places are just and it's not even people who have been in the business for years and years. It's people who are just starting to get, or who are getting hot right now. um are bullies. They're mean. Like they say mean things to people, they treat people badly, they treat people dismissively, even people who are on the same card with them. And I think that those people need to reevaluate the way that they treat folks, because it's an old business axiom, it's an old wrestling axiom, but like the people that you see on the way up are the same people that you see on the way down. And it's like if you treat somebody with disrespect when you're riding your high horse, when you're coming down and stuff is starting to get hard for you and you really need help, somebody's going to remember the kindness that you showed them. They're also going to remember the disrespect that you levied at them. And if you're, then, you see that grizzled old vet who is like, man, nobody will answer my phone calls anymore. Nobody will book me anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Like I gave so much to this business and nobody will. And it's like, and then you hear stories about them and you're like, oh, well, you were a jerk in the locker room. You were a jerk to everybody who you came in contact with, and people don't want to work with you because you're not on the up and up anymore. And like, I I do not revel in the concept of people getting what's coming to them, quote unquote. In fact, I wish bad things never happen to anybody. Even like bad things happen to bad people, good things happen to good people. I wish bad things never happen to anybody, because I think all of us would be a little bit more sunshiny if we could do that. But you very frequently see people who are just so bitter about everybody not calling them back, or about everybody not giving them, the handout to help pick them up the ladder when they need it the most. Oh, why didn't anybody invite me to come get signed? Why didn't anybody invite me to come do this? Why didn't anybody come invite me to come do that? And half the time, uh, probably 75% of the time, it's because you find out, oh, you were a jerk. Don't be
Yeah.
a jerk. Be nice. Professional wrestling is a community. We're a scene, just like music, just like theater, just like art. We're a scene, and the only way we survive is with each other.
Bet. No, it definitely, and those are great advice, man. I love the energy too behind it too, because like you said, the way you go when you go up, it's everybody you have to come see
Come
back
down.
down,
You
and
have to
it's
come back
not
down. You
just
go up the ladder. You have to come back down the ladder. And it doesn't mean that it has to be a fall from grace. It can be something as delicate as, hey, I went up the ladder, I did everything that I wanted to do. I'm retiring now, and I'm going to teach kids how to wrestle, which is what I want to do. I want to fulfill, I want to win tournaments, I want to win championships, I want to take pictures, I want to remember my friends. I want to open up a school someday. I want to make enough money with this and some other things in my life to be able to open up a school so that people can say, hey, like I went and I learned from, Eel. But you ain't got to be a jerk to do that.
see, and that's where like I came into the aspect of like this podcast, right? Like as I'm learning and stuff like that, like I keep reaching out and networking and growing this thing right here,
Yeah.
and like I know, like, I'm transparent with people. Like, I feel like I'm probably gonna have like 10, maybe 12 years really well if I really push it, and you know, God forbid, I keep everything kind of safe, right?
Yeah.
And I hold it together. But at the end of the day, this podcast, man, like everybody I'm gonna be talking to for the next 8, 9, 10, 11,
Yeah.
12, 20 years, this podcast is right here, and everybody can come back and learn something new from it. So listen, man, I love this conversation, but we got to get into the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions.
Let's do
and
it.
Mr. Eel, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever's your answer, that's your answer.
Cool.
So we're going to put on an imaginary timer for add pressure. Bing! And here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Let's go. Night Owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Favorite color?
Green.
Sonic or Mario?
Sonic.
Favorite submission move?
Boston Crab.
Nice. PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox. I was an Xbox kid.
Favorite podcast?
Big Grande's Teacher's Lounge. It's very funny.
Yes, 100%. I love that podcast.
Yeah.
Nominate one wrestler that you want to see on this podcast.
I think you've already had Killian and Dust on.
I haven't had Dust. I
Yeah,
haven't had Dust. He was nominated. I haven't had him on yet.
Yeah, then Dustin or Miles Millennium.
Okay, bet. And last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person that comes on this podcast.
Yeah.
Favorite curse word?
I'm sure a lot of people would say the F word, but I actually think that shit is a not the excretion, but the exclamation is very, very funny.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Bet. Well, those are all my heavy hitting questions, man.
Nice.
So just let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
So if you want to find me, you'll find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Eel O'Neal AAHS. AAHS. That's African American Horror Story. So Eel O'Neal AAHS. You'll find me on Twitter and on Instagram. If you find me on Facebook, I will not add you. I'm sorry, unless you're a professional wrestler who's been working for a good amount of time. I'm very sorry. Got some personal photos and some personal information about my private life that I can't let everybody get. But yeah, that's how to find me. Same way. Hey, Cash App $ Eel O'Neal. Very easy. If you want to, send me a couple of bucks for the road for coffee or something, please do.
Bet. There you guys have it. So you have all this hookups, and you guys know already what this means. Because like every good wrestling match, we got to take this home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now We're Entering the Ring. And like I said, I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up this mountain called wrestling. But like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. And that's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. And you see him right next to me, right there. Eel O'Neal himself, the African American Horror Story. So you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you just wait for this episode to end. You wait for that outro, and then you choose another episode to listen to. Peace. What's going on, 3 Count Nation? I'm Clifford Red Dog Miller with the catchphrase. But what I really want you to do right now, go to twitter.com, right? Go over there, find us at the 3 Count _pod, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a comment. We want to talk to you guys. Go to IG at the 3 Count Pod. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave us a comment. We want to interact with you. Go to youtube.com, give us a subscribe, turn the bell on, turn the notifications, leave a comment. We want to talk to you. Go to anchor.fm / the 3 Count Podcast, and in there, you can leave us a message, and we will talk to you. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we want to talk to you. We want to have fun with you guys, and we love listening to what you guys have to say. Also, one thing I need you to do for me, the 3 Count Podcast also has merchandise. Oh, at prowrestlingtees.com / the 3 Count Pod. Please go buy our t-shirts. We love you guys, and we hope you love us too. So show us some support, please.